about 8, 9, and 10. Is that right?
Yeah, 10, 11, 12. One, I'll try to keep it at 10. I'll try to keep it at 10. Okay, raise your hand if you've ever seen a superhero movie. Anybody? Okay. What are some of your favorites? You can yell them out. Anybody?
Thor Ragnarok.
Thor Ragnarok. Last time I was with kids, that was the first one they mentioned too.
Yeah.
Did you put your hand up? No? Anybody else? What are some of your favorites?
Black Panther.
Black Panther. Joyce?
I like Black Panther too.
Oh, it's coming up though, right? You said Black Panther too?
She likes it too.
Oh, you like Panther too? Okay. That was my mistake. Avengers.
Yeah, the Avengers and
Batman.
The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes, I was born in the dark. That's my bad game.
When I was a kid, it was Superman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was the best back then.
And I've seen them all. I love them all. And I actually went a couple weeks ago to see Venom. Anybody know Venom?
Oh,
Yeah.
Anyone see it?
No.
That's not a superhero.
Thoughts?
I think it was decent.
The thing you thought was good?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not going to talk about Venom just in case someone goes to see it. But imagine this. Imagine, okay, Jalen, right?
Yeah.
Imagine me and you, we go to the theater, we want to see Venom. We walk up to the front desk and we smell the popcorn in the air and we say, 2 tickets for Venom. I get the tickets out and I give you your ticket and it says Spider-Man on it. What would you think?
I said, you got the wrong movie.
You got the wrong movie. I didn't come to see this. I didn't come for this. Now that probably doesn't happen at the movie theater, but it actually happens all the time in real life. Have you ever gone into a store and on the outside of the store you see clothing item or whatever for 20 bucks and then you get inside and then they say, well, you could buy this item. But we also have this other item which costs like 5 times as much. You ever seen that before?
Yep.
Yeah. It's done all the time in stores. I used to work in retail. It's called the bait and switch. Anyone ever heard that term? Bait and switch? So that's what they do in stores. And when you don't share your stories in your speeches, that's what you're doing to your audience. Because when you come up to the front of the room, you are the speech. And your audience wants to know about you. So when you don't share yourself in your speech, you're baiting and switching your audience. And how do I know that? Because I did it before. I once gave a speech, it's called Give Up the Grudge, you might remember it. The version that you heard wasn't the first version. I took it to a judges conference. So what it was is it's a conference where judges teach other people how to be judges for contests. And when I gave the speech, it was 7 minutes. And 5 minutes of that speech was about Nelson Mandela. Anyone ever heard of Nelson Mandela? I thought, okay, well, he spent 27 years in prison. He came out, he said, holding on to resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it will kill your enemies. I thought, okay, I'm going to talk about him because he's inspirational. And Brian, the head judge, came up to me after and he said, Kwesi, it was a good speech and all, but I wish you told me more about you. The speech was Nelson Mandela with a hint of Kwesi, but it should have been Kwesi with maybe a hint of Nelson Mandela. So when you are speaking, share your own stories. And why do you think, most of you probably share your own stories when you speak, but if you don't, or if people don't, why do you think people don't share their own stories? Does anyone have an idea why people don't share their own stories?
For me, I don't have that many good stories.
You don't have that many good stories to share. Okay.
Maybe you're shy.
Maybe you're shy. And what are you going to say? Same thing, you don't feel like you have enough good stories to share. Okay, I get that. Anyone over here have any ideas? That's the number one answer that I get. People don't think they have enough stories to share. Raise your hand if you've ever missed a flight at the airport, or you know anyone that's ever missed a flight. Oh! Have you ever had, raise your hand if you ever had some time where you said, you know what, I had enough of people, I just want to be with myself for a bit. Quiet time. Yeah. I'll ask you to raise your hand a lot today. Do you know anyone who's ever gone to the mall? Have you ever gone to the mall with your parents and you take that parking ticket inside to the store and you say, can you validate my parking? Does that make sense to anyone? Do you know what that means?
No.
Validate
Yes.
parking means, no?
Yes.
Okay, you know what it means, but if you don't know what it means,
People are like inside the machine and then pay for it after.
Yeah, so it's like if you go down to Square One, for instance, and if Square One charged for parking, it was $10 for parking, you go into a store, and if you buy something in the store, your parking's free. That's called validating parking. That's a boring story. What if I was to tell you stories about spending time by yourself, like you've all done? Stories about missing a flight, like Kayla exuberantly did. And stories about validating tickets. Not only became great 7-minute speeches, but they became world championship winning speeches. Lance Miller, Ed Tate, Craig Valentine, 3 world champions of public speaking, did stories about the most mundane things, 2 of which you said you've had before. So I think that a lot of times we don't think things in our life are inspirational, but if you go through your life, and you're going to learn how in the next few minutes, you'll find stories that will make you say to yourself, I can tell my story instead of saying that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb for the 10,000th time. Because we all know that story, don't we? So on your table, you have a handout that I'm going to go through, but I want you to keep it on your own and remember what I say today. It's called Storytelling for Speeches. Does everyone have it? Does anyone not have it?
Wait, 1 second.
Okay, there should be extras on the desk.
There you go.
Does everyone have it now? Does anyone not have it? Okay. So this will make sense as you go through it over and over again, but these are 5 steps for going from having nothing to speak about to learning how to tell your own stories. And the first is what I call calendaring your chronology. Does anyone know the term chronology? Chronology, what does chronology mean? Yeah?
It basically means like when everything is in order.
Yeah, when everything's in order. Have you ever seen a Star Wars movie? Anyone ever seen a Star Wars movie?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, when you see Star Wars, how does it begin? In a galaxy long, long, far, far away. They tell the story, you know, with the space lettering, yellow, cheesy lettering. We'll do that with your own life. It sounds mundane, but when you go through your life, literally, I wrote 1976, way before many of you were born. I was born. 5 years old, living in Montreal. And I wrote year after year, everything I did year after year. So go through your life, and as Lena said, calendar your chronology. Go through, in order, your entire life. I started grade 1. It sounds boring, but that's going to give you ideas for possible stories. And the second thing is to celebrate your successes and failures. That's step number 2 on your sheet. Do you know the acronym? Don't say it out loud. Anyone ever heard the acronym FML?
Yeah.
FML? Okay, we're not going to say what it is. We don't want one of those. We don't want a facepalm moment. But let's change the acronym. FML now means first, fun and fantastic. Find those areas of your life. When you've gone through your life, the first time you did something, you're probably thinking of something right now, the fun moments of your life and the fantastic moments of your life. Just things that really stand out after you've gone through your entire life. Next is your mishap moments. Raise your hand if you ever failed at something. You ever failed at something? Okay, Henry, your first name there. Ariana. So you have a story. See? You have a story. And we've all failed somewhere. And if you share a story about when you failed, everybody's with you. Right? Everybody's failed at something before. So think of the mishap moments you have, and L is for life learning. Everything that happens to you teaches a lesson. And next is probably what a lot of people get caught up on. Cultivate your 3 Ps. Every single story only really needs, as Karina was asking earlier, deep diving is all about going into 3 things: your problem, your prize, and your payoff. What do I mean by that? If you fail a test, the problem is I failed the test. The prize is how did I learn how to get over that? I studied or someone tutored me. The payoff is how's my life better as a result. Every good story has that. From Star Wars to Hunger Games, every single one follows that Hollywood strategy: problem, prize, payoff. Number 4 is creating your opening. And there's 3 great ways to have an opening: your quote, your question, or your quip. Now, quip is just a clever word I use so that I can have 3 Qs, to be quite honest. And what a quip is a clever or contrarian remark. And what a contrarian remark is if everybody has the same view and you can present the opposite view, then you're a contrarian. what was something that happened in nature this week? Something that happened in society that a lot of people have very opposing views on. The legalization of marijuana. Was everyone going to say that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a contrarian topic right there. If you start your speech by giving the audience something where everybody has a view one way or the other, then you pull them in right away. So that's what a contrarian remark is. But you can do one of those three. And finally, you want to close with class. My favorite speaker, Les Brown, says that what you end your speech with is often all that people will remember. So you can start well. Zoya, you were saying you started and you finished well. That's 80% of the battle right there. That middle part, you slip up a little bit, no big deal. End strong. Close with class. Now, quickly over 5 ways that you could close. There's the loop close, which basically means something that you started with, you end with. So there's a world championship public speaking champion, I forgot his name, but he starts by pretending to light a cigarette. Have you seen that one? How does he end his speech? Yeah? What does he do with the cigarette at the end of the speech? Yeah, he broke it. He broke it. So he starts with the speech. He starts by pretending to light a cigarette, and at the end of the speech, he brings that cigarette back out and breaks it. So if you can think of a way to loop your beginning and your end of your speech together, that's powerful. Number 2 is lines. Anytime you end a speech and you have one line at the end with that line. That last line is what people will remember. Legend is now you can mention your Thomas Edison or your Barack Obama or your Mahatma Gandhi or whoever. You can bring that person in at the end of your speech, but make sure the majority of the speech is about you. And trust me, even if you have a topic that you don't think is going to inspire other people, what you've gone through, you're all the same age. So chances are you've all gone through a lot of the same things, right? Legacy story is just about coming back to your story at the end. And link, what is link? Oh, link is a suspended story. So you can start your story by saying, I went to the movie theater, and the movie was about to start, and the opening credits were coming up. And then you go through your content, and at the end of your speech, you come back and say, and at the closing credits of that movie, da 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 da. So I've gone through a lot here, and if you have any questions, I will leave you my email. My website's on the back, and you can always email me anytime and ask me questions, because your story is important. So I'll end with this. A client of mine gave me the paper earlier in the week, and I read something that stuck out to me. He said he was born tongue-tied, and people couldn't understand him. He said that early childhood blow to his self-esteem led him to try and boost it later due to the stutter. This was something that Paul Bernardo said in his appeal hearing. Does anyone know who Paul Bernardo is? Yeah. Raise your hand if you don't know who Paul Bernardo is. Okay, ask your parents who Paul Bernardo is. All I'll say is that he is in jail for doing some very bad things. And when I read that, I realized that when he was young, he had this stutter. I wondered if someone had gotten to him and said, there's this organization called Toastmasters where you can come and learn to speak and practice and build your self-esteem and share your stories. I wonder if he would have ended up there. I know the adults in the room, you're probably thinking maybe he wouldn't have been. I honestly think he wouldn't have been. So when you think about writing a speech note, just think about yourself. Think about the fact that someone may be going through exactly what you're going through. So sharing your story is essential. Your audience is always going to ask, what is your story? I'm just going to ask you, do you have the courage to share it?